Hey everyone, it's May, and welcome to another edition of the May Lee Show. This show is again about the Lena Hernandez incidents that took place in Torrance. Bear with me. The reason I'm doing another show is because I'm going to have two of the victims come on the show, as well as the attorney, to talk a little bit more about what's happened thus far with the arrests of Lena Hernandez and the trial that's going to move forward, because she was charged with one misdemeanor battery charge in the incident involving a victim who was physically assaulted by Lena Hernandez last October in a shopping mall. But it's also because this story has garnered so much attention and so much interest. My viewers and listeners, all of you out there, are so enthralled by this story. And just, I can tell that you just want any kind of information that I can get my hands on about this continuing story. And for good reason, right? It is a story that affects us, especially the Asian American community, because it was such racially charged incidents that were directly aimed at Asians, and in such an appalling way. And so this story has gone global and continues to get a lot of attention. So I am staying on top of the story. As a lot of you know, I've been continually updating and trying to get more information, and have gotten to know some of the victims. And so they are, willing to come talk to me about what's happening, even though they have been overwhelmed by what's been going on with their stories and what happened to them and Lena Hernandez. But before I get to the interviews, this is all related to a bigger phenomenon that's happening, not a good one, which is, of course, the xenophobia and the racism affecting Asian Americans because of COVID-19. Now, again, if you've been listening or watching my show since February, I've been talking about this problem ever since, and it's just keeps on getting worse, not better. And Stop AAPI Hate, which is an organization that has been tracking the xenophobia against Asians, they just came out with new numbers just last week, and it's pretty shocking. And it just proves that it's only getting worse. They report that more than 2,000 anti-Asian hate incidents have happened in the U.S. so far since COVID started. And more than 800 of those incidents have happened here in California, which, yeah, it's amazing because California has such a huge Asian population. So I guess that's the reason why there are more incidents. But, for those of you who think, oh, California is so diverse and open and they embrace all cultures, well, 800 plus incidents against Asians, that paints a little bit of a different story. And they cited specific stories. Of course, we have heard several of these and new ones. In San Francisco, someone threw a glass bottle at an Asian American woman while she was putting her baby in her car seat. Another woman was walking her dog and a man kicked her dog, spit on her, saying, "Take your disease that's ruining our country, go home." Another Asian American family in Los Angeles, they got into an elevator and there was a couple not wearing a mask, and they said to them, "This effing virus came from your mother effing country and you nasty as roaches." And then recently, me personally on Facebook, on the May Lee Show Facebook page, I got a comment from somebody who was commenting on my video where I was talking about how President Trump was calling coronavirus Kung Flu at his rally. And he's, of course, used that derogatory term many, many times. And somebody said to me, go back to China, then go back to China then if it's so bad here, you chink. So that was to me. So, this is happening continuously. The Asian American community, we've been very aware of this, and the numbers don't lie. And these are just the reported incidents. Bear that in mind. These are just the reported incidents. So multiply these numbers by I don't know how much, because that it's a greater number of incidents that are going unreported as well. So, this is something that we're struggling with constantly. But the Lena Hernandez case in Torrance is hopefully has become an example, a very colorful example of what this looks like, the racism looks like, and how the victims and the community have decided to fight back, right? They have decided to fight back instead of just letting it go and dismissing it and just cowering in their corners and going away like nice little Asians are supposed to, according to the stereotypes. And that's, of course, what the authorities were hoping for in Torrance. And that's why the first case last October, went completely uninvestigated. And they lied about the fact that Kayceelyn Salminao had dropped the charges, which was totally untrue. I've said this before. So if it hadn't been for the two new incidents in the park, then Casey's case would have just been completely ignored. Nothing would have happened. And ironically, it's her case that the city attorney decided to press charges against Lena Hernandez for, right? So it's Kayceelyn's case where Lena Hernandez was charged with 1 count of misdemeanor battery. The other 2 incidents, the more recent incidents where the 2 victims were verbally assaulted and threatened, those cases were dismissed by the city attorney, saying that there was inconclusive evidence, insufficient evidence to file any kind of charges against Lena Hernandez. So the update is that Lena Hernandez was arrested just this past Friday, July 3rd. And then she was let go because she posted the $1 bail. Now, we're going to get an explanation of that from Sandy Rojas, who is the attorney. There is a somewhat logical explanation for that. But, and then we don't know what her court appearance date is yet, because the next step is for her to appear in court and then the trial begins. So anyway, so this is all related, right? We all see what's happening in this country. We all see this growing racism and hate and division that's taking place from the top down, right? Let's admit it. Donald Trump is certainly not helping the situation, and he is trying to create these race wars, this race baiting, amongst his racist base and communities of color, Asian Americans, African Americans, Latinos. It's incredible that this is the president of the United States, and he is trying to create this race war. And so this is why we need to be more aware than ever before of what's happening around us and willing to speak up, speak out, push back, and empower ourselves to be able to handle these situations better. Whereas in the past, we have certainly, maybe not wanted to get involved. But things are changing. These things are definitely changing. So let me now get to all of our guests. 2 of the victims are joining me now, as along with Sandy Rojas, the attorney. Okay, well, I want to welcome Kayceelyn Salminao and Sherry Bulseco and Sandy Rojas, who is the attorney for, was the attorney for all 3 victims. She still is for Casey, right, Sandy?
I am.
Yeah, okay. Hey, guys, it's so good to have you join the show. Casey, you've been on the show before and very bravely spoke out about what happened to you in your case. And Sherry, I've spoken to you on the phone, but it's so good to finally meet you this way. So welcome.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Well, let's start off with the most basic question that everybody wants to know. You guys put out a statement after the charge was presented against Lena Hernandez, which only involved Casey's case of misdemeanor battery. But then she was arrested on Friday, but apparently released on the $1 bail, right? Let me first just get your reaction to the charge and her arrest and where everything stands right now. Casey, let me start with you.
So I'm happy the city attorney filed those charges. Although it took 2 viral racially influenced videos for my case to be actually seen. But I'm glad that they have her. They arrested her. Unfortunately, on the $1 bail, they released her. But I'm still happy that that I got some type of justice, and I look forward to Lena Hernandez getting prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
Right, right. Well, I mean, I guess we have to wait to see if you actually get justice, because there has to be a trial, and we have to see if she does actually get convicted, right?
Exactly.
But here's the thing, Kaycee, and I know we have talked about this before. Had those other 2 videos not come out involving Sherry and the 3rd victim, your case would have never seen the light of day, right? It would have been buried like it was previously. You would have never gotten this far. There would have never been a charge against Lena Hernandez. So does that still, when you think about that, does that still bother you and frustrate you? And I mean, piss you off? I mean, because it does me.
Oh, most definitely. Like, I'm kind of disappointed that I left it up to the justice system to make something happen of it.
Yeah.
But fortunately, we came together, Sherry and the 3rd victim, unfortunately in these terms.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that it was put out there to help with everything.
Right, right.
Bring everything to light.
Well, Sherry, let me get your reaction, because I haven't really spoken to you on the show about what happened to you. We all know what happened to you because we saw the video, which was outrageous. And that video really sparked everything, because it was so racist and so hostile. And it was global. It went global. So tell me how you're feeling now with everything that's happened thus far.
I mean, I feel relieved that that she actually got arrested for Casey's sake. Like, I really feel bad for what happened to her, and that it took this long for her to get any type of justice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel good for her, like that she found some type of justice. I mean, I hope that she gets convicted and goes to jail for what she did. But I mean, I feel really good for Kaycee.
But what about for you, Sherry? What happened to you was, I mean, it was traumatic. I think we all were sort of traumatized by what we saw, because it was so unbelievable, right? For Asians, of course, but even non-Asians, a lot of people reacted to what happened to you. So how are you feeling about the fact that your case is being dismissed?
I mean, I feel disappointed, because I mean, it should speak for itself, the video, and it didn't. And I feel like they don't care. Like, I'm not a victim, and like, I don't matter. And it just hurts my feelings for that. And I'm sure that this happens to way more people than just me and the other victims. It's just sad.
So yeah, it's got to be disappointing that your case isn't going any further, especially since it was the first one that got so much attention recently. Let me ask you this then: is it disappointing also because you feel as if something like this, where it's a racist attack against Asians in particular, that it's just not being taken seriously enough?
Yes, I feel like, it's not being taken seriously enough. Exactly. Like, I totally agree. Yeah. And I think they should change that. It shouldn't be this way.
Right. Has this changed your attitude and sort of your view on how things, need to be pushed harder within our community to get that kind of recognition? Because obviously this may be an example, and a very good one, of how Asian Americans aren't being seen as serious or not vocal enough, or not worthy of the attention that maybe other communities might get.
Yeah, I agree. We're totally ignored, and they always think that we're so quiet and we won't do anything about it, and that we're just going to let this go. And I don't want to let this go,
Yeah.
I want us to keep fighting for this.
Can I ask you though, when this was happening to you, you stayed so calm. I mean, unusually so. you didn't react. You were just very, very calm. You kept recording, obviously, which is a good thing. But what were you thinking at the time when this was all happening?
I was just confused, like, why would this happen to me? And that was just what I was thinking. I was just thinking, like, I don't know how to react. I was scared. I felt like really threatened, and that's just how I react. I just stay quiet when I'm scared and threatened. That's my reaction to how I do things. I don't like hit, or I don't scream.
Well, which is
scared.
Honestly, that's normal. I mean, I think most people sort of freeze when they're in fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sandy, let me ask you this then. Let me bring you into this. There was no charges in the victims 1 and 2, Sherry and victim 2 and 3, right? Sherry and
Correct.
The gentleman who was with his kids. And there was no charge because one of the reasons being there was insufficient evidence to show that the victims were truly fearful, right? That they were going to be harmed in any way, that kind of thing. So, but then we listen to Sherry right now. She was scared. She's saying she was scared, right? To the point where she didn't know what to say because she was so scared. So why is it? And I think the average person wants to understand, why is it that wasn't enough to bring a charge against Lena Hernandez in these 2 cases?
It's definitely a very difficult decision to swallow, especially when we have real live and actual victims. I think the sentiment of the public is that we disagree with the city attorney's assessment that there were critical gaps in the evidence. Based on the prosecutor, he felt that he could not prove beyond a reasonable doubt, which is the highest standard of proof, that crimes were committed against Sherry and the male victim. And what this means is that he would have to prove to 12 members of the jury, and they must all agree, that the defendant, Lena Hernandez, would be guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And ultimately, he felt he did not have that burden to prove.
Wow.
And that's why he declined to file any charges against Lena Hernandez.
Yeah. Again, and Sherry and Casey, I would love to get your reaction. Again, though, a lot of people have been writing into me and making comments about the fact that, wow, this just goes to show that anybody can say something so horrific to somebody and be so racist and threatening verbally, and yet you can get away with it. So, Casey, I mean, when you saw these 2 recent videos, that's what triggered you into saying, oh, my God, this is the same woman who assaulted me last year. So your reaction's very similar to the rest of the public, is like, how can this be? How can somebody get away with being so violently threatening verbally and racist and not, have any reprimand, right?
Yeah, it's very disappointing and very sad for our community.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of Asian Americans here in our community, and it just seems like it's just, oh, they can say that and it's whatever.
Right. So you, I know, have changed your tune a lot about this situation and how you now view your community and activism and what needs to be done. So tell me how this whole process so far has changed you.
Well, I'm part of the community here. Like, I participate in my daughter's PTA, and it's just like I'm always in the community. So I would expect for my own community to come together and solve this problem. But it just seems like no matter what you do here, it just seems like if you're a person of color, if you're Asian American, it doesn't matter. We don't matter.
And that's, I mean, you saying that and feeling that way through this experience, that's kind of a sad statement, honestly. Sherry, you're nodding your head as well. Do you
Yeah.
do you agree?
I agree. I feel the same way as Casey. Yeah. And I just don't feel safe here anymore.
Oh boy.
Which is sad.
And did you grow up in Torrance? Have you lived there a long time?
No, I mean, I've lived here maybe about 10 years or over 10 years. I grew up in Hawaii.
Okay.
Yeah.
But 10 years, that's enough time to think that this is your community and you belong there. But now you're
Right.
saying you don't feel safe.
Yes.
Wow. And so again, I have to ask you, Sandy, I mean, when when a victim says something like that, I don't feel safe anymore. Again, I guess that is not enough for reasonable doubt, beyond a reasonable doubt, because if she's now living every day in the community that she felt like she was part of for 10 plus years, and this happens and she now doesn't feel safe anymore, I mean, that just doesn't seem right.
It's not right. And I think Sherry and Casey and even myself, we don't feel safe in Torrance anymore. You know, there has to be more than just the criminal justice system to protect these types of attacks in the future. And that's where we need to call upon the city government officials to ask themselves what they can do to help eradicate racism and xenophobia that exists in our community, because we can't just walk on the streets and feel as though we are unsafe and that we can be attacked and there can be nothing done for us because the elements of criminal threats may not be met according to the city prosecutor.
Right. Okay, so let me ask all of you then, since you all live in Torrance and you know, before all of this started happening, you felt safe and it was a welcoming community, especially with it almost being 40% Asian American. Disappointment for all of you in terms of how the city has handled this, the police, the mayor, the city attorney to a certain extent. Although I understand that he only got all these cases in June, so it's not as if he knew about what was happening before. But when it comes to city leadership and how this has been handled and what this says about how the city views the Asian American community. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Casey, let me start with you.
I'm definitely disappointed in how everything was handled, only because, we're Asian Americans are seen as quiet. They won't put up a fight. So it's just like, okay, if they're not going to speak up about it, I'm just going to brush it under the rug.
Yeah.
That's it. And I'll move on to a next, something that's actually important.
Right. I mean, you were even told, and I'm not going to state a source, that your case would have never come back into focus if it weren't for the global attention that the other two incidents got.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah. And Sherry, does this give you a new sort of, I suppose, sheds a negative light on how the city officials and leadership sees the community and has treated you guys?
Yes, definitely. I feel like I don't trust them anymore. Yeah.
Mm. And Sandy, what's next then, legally speaking? Because I know you're still handling Casey's case. Lena was arrested, released. Right. Now, let's explain the dollar bail, because people, I mean, you should have seen my Instagram messages and Facebook posts. People went crazy thinking that how is that even possible? But there is somewhat of an explanation for that, right?
Right. So the dollar bail is not specific to Lena Hernandez's case. Due to COVID, the dollar bail is being issued for defendants who are being arrested for misdemeanor crimes because there's a lack of room in the jails, and they want to keep social distancing and they want to keep the defendants safe from potentially, being exposed to COVID.
Right.
And that's why the dollar bail has been set for cases that are dealing with misdemeanors.
Okay. So that's at least somewhat of a timely explanation for why it was $1. Okay. So because people have to understand, and I'm just going to say this, that's not her punishment. That's not her fine. It's just the bail that was set because of COVID. We're under unusual circumstances. Okay, then, Sandy, what now? What are we waiting for now in her case? And, where does it go from here?
Okay, so now officially Casey is named as a victim in this case. And what the California law allows her is to give her several rights as a victim. And these rights would be actively pursuing her criminal case, such as she has a right to be informed at every step of the case. She has a right to be present at every court proceeding. She has a right to be informed of any plea deal that is going to take place. And she has a right to make a statement in court, what's known as a victim's impact statement. And if needed, she'll go to court and testify as to what happened in her incident.
Okay. Okay. And the maximum punishment in a misdemeanor battery is what?
It would be 180 days in this case.
180 days. Okay. In jail.
Correct.
Okay. Kayce, how do you feel about going through this? Are you ready?
I'll be ready as I'll ever be, I guess.
But you're willing. I mean, you're willing to go through this, right?
I'm definitely willing. If I'm able to make it, I just don't want to subject my school-age daughter to any of these court hearings. So if my husband's available, I'll definitely go in because who knows what'll happen.
Right, right. Because here's the thing, all of you, and I've been through court cases before involving a family tragedy. So I know what it's like. It's intense. It's draining. And so that's why a lot of people choose not to go through with it, right? They just don't want to bother because it's too intense, it's too difficult, it's too time consuming. But for you, Kayce, in this, do you think this has become so symbolic and like bigger than what it would have been had all these other things not had happened, right? Do you feel now an added responsibility to go through with this?
Oh, most definitely. I believe that because like those two videos of the two victims, that it went viral.
Yeah.
So I guess as the first victim, like I'm the one that has to go through with it, especially because my charges have gone through and I have to show them that we're not going to put up with it.
Right. It's as if you are carrying the burden now of trying to get justice in the Lena Hernandez, incidents, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's mentally exhausting. I'm not going to lie, but I want this to go all the way through with it. Not just for myself, but for everyone else that has been said that, oh, they've been dismissed, they've been denied justice. So
right. And Sherry, I know that you were a little reluctant to come on and talk about your case and the situation because it's been overwhelming, right? It's been really overwhelming for you. But tell me why then you have agreed to speak out like this. Tell me why this is important to you.
I just feel like this is important for all of us, people of color, Asian Americans, to just stand up and speak up. And that's why I decided to come out and talk.
Yeah. Like I've been saying to all of you, and I always say this on my show, it is time, for Asian Americans to say enough and to say this stereotype that you have put on us for decades and even centuries, we're done, right? We're done. We're going to break down this stereotype. We've become much more empowered and we're going to fight back. And for all of you to stand together like this, I think is proof that, you know what? This is not going to make us go away. We're going to keep fighting. So I'm very proud of you guys that you came together like this to band together and use your energies for a greater good. So I know that July 11th, is that still going to be happening, the gathering that you're planning on? And if so, tell me about it.
Yes, we're still planning on doing the July 11th. It's actually going to be a workout rally. So it's just bringing the community together because Sherry loves to work out. And thanks to her video of her working out, we're all going to come out and wear black in the California sun again.
Yeah, who wears black in the California sun? Oh my God, that line killed me. I just you had to laugh at that point. You were like, this is ridiculous. Okay, so you're hoping for a big turnout of supporters.
Yeah. And then thanks to Sandy's team, it's we're giving out 100 shirts.
Yeah.
To the first 100 people
Okay.
for free. So that's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And you know, Sherry, let me ask you this: when right after your incident, people did come together in the park, right,
Yes.
to show support
Right.
to you and the others. Were you overwhelmed by that? Did you even expect the community to rally like that so quickly?
Right. I thought it was going to be like 20 people at the most. And that was crazy to see. I'm guessing like over like maybe 200 people showed up to work out.
Wow.
At 8 o'clock in the morning. Like no one really wants to work out in the morning.
Yeah, no, I mean,
so that was great.
So that must give all of you, and it for me too, and I'm so cynical. I'm a journalist, right? I'm supposed to be cynical. But things like that, when people come out to support each other, when something so horrible happens, you know, it gives me hope. It does give me hope that there's more good in the world than bad. You know, there's more people like us in the world than Lena Hernandez is in the world. And we are able to combat that. And by, again, being very public about what happened to you and being willing to stand by your conviction and speak out about it, it has a ripple effect. That's why 200 people showed up, right? Because you were courageous and brave enough to put that video out there and like talk about it and, you know, be willing to become almost a symbol. And so here's the thing, Sandy, I know I've talked to you about this. It's almost as if the Lena Hernandez has become a bigger symbol that is galvanizing the Asian American community across the country and perhaps even around the world to say, this shit is not going to happen to us anymore. Do you think so, Sandy?
I agree 100%. You know, with everything that has come with this story, we know that we're not alone, and we know together our unified voices can be heard, and we aren't going to just stand silent and be quiet and be passive Asian Americans. We're in this all together, and the world knows now that we will not tolerate racism and stay silent.
Right. Amen, sister. And I love, and we did all deliberately wear black today. So I love that. I love that. All right. Final words then from each of you. What do you hope will result in all of this? Again, it's been overwhelming. It's been frustrating at times. It's been shocking what we've learned about some of the mistakes and ineptitude by authorities. But what do you overall hope that this is going to do for not just your community, but, you know, on a broader base? Casey, start with you.
I just hope it brings to light that us Asian Americans, we are coming together and we're not going to keep quiet. Yeah. We're going to keep fighting, and we're going to keep saying that we're warriors.
Yes.
And we're all here to support you, and no matter what happens.
Sherry?
I just hope that Lena Hernandez or people just like Lena Hernandez stop acting the way that they do, control their actions, and think about the consequences, or else all of us will come after her.
I love it.
Yeah. And make her work out on the stairs.
And we're all black. Yeah.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, listen, I'm going to say this over and over again. I'm very proud of all of you for having the courage to speak out and, stand with conviction, because I think there is oftentimes a lack of conviction when it comes to trying incidents, right? Where people actually do want to just say, I can't deal with it. I want to go away. This is too public. But you all saw the importance of what this symbolizes, right? And what this could do to change the course of what's happening, right? With COVID, we all know that xenophobia and racism has been on the rise against Asian Americans. So this is really a pivotal moment for our community. And this incident with Lena Hernandez, I think, just symbolizes and exacerbates and really puts a lot more focus on the issue. And so you guys, like it or not, you definitely are leading the way with this. And so be proud of that. Be proud and wear that badge of honor very proudly. And know that the Asian community is totally 100% behind you, as well as other communities, which is the beautiful thing about what's happened. So thank you so much, all of you, for joining me. I adore you. I'm going to stay, on top of the story with you. But take care, stay safe, and let's keep each other in our thoughts and prayers always.
Thanks, May.
Thank you, May.
Thank you.
Okay, so I definitely will be staying on this story as it develops and bringing you guys updates whenever I can. But this is definitely, as I said before, and we were saying in the interview, this is very symbolic in terms of this pivotal moment for the Asian and Asian American community to rise up and say enough is enough, and really just show the world that we will fight back and we will have our voices heard, and we can galvanize as a group to make change happen. So just a reminder again, like we were saying during the interview, they are planning on having this gathering at Wilson Park in Torrance. I'm looking at my notes here. Join forces against hate and racism. It's hashtag sweat out hate with workout. They want you to wear all black. Come work out at 10 a.m. Saturday, July 11th at Wilson Park, and show your support. So show that you care. Show that you will not stay silent, and show the world that we can come together in numbers, that we can make a difference, and that we care. We care about each other, and we care about doing what's right. All right. So, and one last thing, want to emphasize that the police and the other investigators in the city, they say, if anybody has any other evidence or other stories regarding Lena Hernandez that maybe they haven't seen yet, maybe videos that were shot that nobody's aware of in any of the incidents, or any other new incidents or previous incidents that, you want to step forward about, do it. Get it to the police, and, at least that helps in terms of more evidence, right? Because look, the city attorney says insufficient evidence. Well, the more evidence, the better. But don't be afraid. I know sometimes it is, there is fear involved, but speaking out at times when needed really can make the difference. And that's what these three victims has done. And I will mention the third victim, the gentleman who was verbally attacked by Lena while his kids were in the car. He is definitely not wanting to disclose his identity yet for the safety of his children. He's told me that he will be ready at some point, but not now. But in the background, he is definitely pushing for change, and he's trying to be very vocal without giving away his identity, but being very vocal as victim number 3 to really say everything that we've been talking about, that we need to make our presence known and, have authorities take the Asian American community seriously. So he is definitely behind this movement as well. Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Hey, if you get a chance, please go to YouTube and subscribe to the May Lee Show channel. I would really appreciate that, as well as giving us some reviews on the podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts or any other platform. But yeah, it helps when we get some good reviews and when you subscribe to the channel. So please do so. It only takes a second. And also you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. Okay, so keep those comments coming. I totally appreciate the fact that all of you care so much, and I can feel the passion in all of the messages and the comments that you make. So I hear you. I'm right there with you. Okay. All right. Until next time, everyone, stay safe.